There were two major moves in the NFL yesterday that have direct effects to two Colorado football players. Details coming up in about 3 seconds. All right, in the NFL yesterday, we saw a couple of moves take place, and they will affect two Colorado football players. And, of course, one is Russell Wilson's new team. So we always keep an eye on the X, right? You still stalking your X on Instagram? It gets creepy after a certain point. But here we are talking about Russell Wilson a couple of years removed. So that's the first one. All right, what Russell Wilson going to the New York Giants means for Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, the CU quarterback, his name's in the draft. He's looked at as either the top or the second best quarterback behind Miami's Cam Ward. What's your preference? What do you prefer? I think both players are actually going to be pretty good at the NFL level. Face the franchise type of guys. Now, they're going to carry teams to Super Bowls. That's TBD, and we'll figure that out. But I do believe both guys are going to be very good NFL quarterbacks. So, what it means for Shedeur Sanders, this is after the Giants signed Jameis Winston, who's my favorite quarterback, and it has nothing to do with play, but, I mean, he once said, wobble with me, to a fish. All right, that's cool. I'm into that kind of stuff. So they've got Jameis, and then they go get Captain Cornball Russell Wilson himself. How is that going to work? The dynamic in the locker room from outgoing, crazy, praying to God to deliver him from pick sixes, Jameis Winston, to cliche cornball king, Russell Wilson. And by the way, in the New York media, I can't wait to see how Russ responds and reacts when he has a bad game. And those folks in New York media eat him up like that crappy Subway sandwich he had from a couple of years ago. Can't wait to see how he responds to that. But what does it mean for Shedeur Sanders? He was looked at for a very long time as the third overall pick, just going to the New York Giants. If you're a mock draft reader, you read it about 50 times that he was going to end up there in New York City. So there are a couple of things that make you go, why did the Giants do this? Have they got confirmation, or at least as much confirmation as they possibly can, that the Browns are going to pick Shedeur Sanders? You remember a couple weeks ago, Shedeur's on the internet, because everything the dude does is on the internet, and he's playing Madden with one of his buddies. And the clip goes viral because he said, oh, I only play with the Browns on Madden. Look, I've played Madden. You've probably played Madden. My man Sean's probably played Madden. You know what you don't do on Madden? You don't play with the Browns. So there was a reason for that, right? They love the attention, that Sanders family, and that clip brought plenty of that to the crew. So that's a part of it. But did he know even at that point? Because you can go back to, was it the East West Shrine game, if memory serves me right? There was the clip, the photo actually, that went viral of cleats, the old primetime cleats, but they were in Giants colors. And everybody went, well, there he goes. He's going to the Giants. And then now you fast forward a couple of weeks later, he's talking about playing with the Browns on Madden, and the Giants have now added Russell Wilson. So you know what it tells me? Is the Giants did that. They did get confirmation that they are not going to be at number 3 on the clock with a quarterback available that they like. Now, save the Jackson Dart stuff. It's nonsense that dude's finding his way into the first round. He is not a first-round quarterback. All that stuff I said about being confident about Shedeur and Cam, all the opposite feelings about Jackson Dart as a first-round and an NFL quarterback. But if the Giants did get that confirmation, all right, I don't think Russell Wilson's going to work. I think he's been washed for a few years at this point. Jameis, honestly, might even give you a better opportunity. But if you've now figured out, hey, I can't pick a quarterback, Shedeur's not even going to be on the board when I get there. Well, you know what you do? You go get the next best thing, and at this point of free agency, maybe it is just Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. And then you look at that draft board. You say, what can I do to make that quarterback's life easier? Well, Travis Hunter's going to be sitting there. He won't be selected. Abdul Carter's going to be sitting there. He won't be selected at number 3 quite yet. So you can either get a generational talent as a pass rusher, or you can get a generational talent of a unicorn that none of us have ever seen before in Travis Hunter. Then you pair that dude up with Malik Neighbors, Tracy Jr., who's a running back there in New York, who's solid. Now, there's a shelf life on those guys, but, well, at least Porter or Tracy Jr., not Malik Neighbors. But, man, you could be talking about Neighbors, Tracy, Hunter as 3 really key cog pieces for Russell Wilson, for Jameis Winston, and then see what you can get in year 1 And if it's not good, well, guess what? You'll be picking top 5 again. And you know who's in next year's draft? Arch freaking Manning. So maybe you just start that march for Arch. Honestly, for Shedeur's side of it, final thought on that. It would have been better for him in New York City, off the field endorsement opportunities, more opportunity to make money as a celebrity in the number 1 market in the world. Cleveland, it feels like good players go there to disappear and never to be heard from again. Myles Garrett Miles, I always call him both because I can never remember what his first name is. He's a great player. Why did he re-up? Because they paid him $40 million a year. He says he knows the plan, and maybe that's exactly what it is, to draft Shedeur Sanders. But Shedeur goes to the Browns. He either gets out in 4 or 5 years, or he's just looked at as a bust and a miss because they're the Browns, and they're just not very good at doing football. The second thing that really has an effect on the Denver Broncos, I cannot believe the number that Stefon Diggs got from the New England Patriots. Like I said, we're here on the 3rd wave of free agency, and they paid Stefon Diggs for 3 years and $69 million. Nice for him, I guess. But what's that mean for Courtland Sutton? What does that mean for Courtland Sutton, who's about a year younger and is not coming off of an ACL injury where – I wrote this down. He did it in week 8 of last year and will be 32 years old in November, is Stefon Diggs. And the New England Patriots just screwed up the entire wide receiver market with that deal. 26 of those $69 million are guaranteed. So it's going to be at least a couple years with Stefon on the roster. So what does that mean for the Broncos and Courtland Sutton, who wants a new deal and is only making about $13.5 million? They bumped him up with some incentives last year, and he checked all those boxes and got to about $17 million for his yearly salary. But Courtland's looking at like 22, 23, and honestly, he is a top 10 to 13 wide receiver in the league right now. And that's what it costs to pay those guys. But I have a cap, and it's just my cap. George Payton, Sean Payton, and Greg Penner, well, they have a lot more money than I do. But if I'm going to spend Greg Penner's money, I think the cap for Courtland Sutton is at $20 million. I don't think you can go above $20 million. He has been great the last couple of years, and he and Bo seem to figure some things out with 1,000 yards receiving, Courtland being the first Bronco wide receiver to reach that number since, well, Courtland did it back in 2019. So he's a key cog. But you get north of $20 million, and you get north of $20 million for consecutive seasons, which Courtland's obviously going to be looking for 2 or 3 of those years with guaranteed money on 2 or 3 of those years. Then we're talking about a guy that's 32 years old. We get right back into the Stefon Diggs conversation. I just don't want to be in a position where Bo's really starting to pop. Marvin Mims has come around. Now you got Evan Ingram, the true joker that Sean's going to use. They're going to get a running back in this draft that's going to be a key component to what this team does. And then in that 2nd or 3rd year, you're dealing with an older wide receiver that's lost a step or 2 and is now making north of $20 million. I just can't get with that. I'll get to 20, and I think that's a very, very significant pay raise for a guy like Courtland Sutton, and checks the box that he needs to show up to like voluntary OTAs, not hold out during mini camp and the things that we saw a year ago. Just get there, go to work, continue to build that chemistry with Bo Nix. So to the New England Patriots, thanks a lot for ruining the wide receiver market by giving a 31-year-old wide receiver coming off of an ACL injury $26 million guaranteed. You hurt the Broncos doing that. So Russell Wilson to the Giants, I am in for entertainment purposes because they are going to destroy him in New York media. But for Shedeur Sanders, I mean, the writing's on the wall. Shedeur is now going to be a Cleveland Brown. It will be Cam Ward number 1 to Tennessee. It will be Shedeur Sanders number 2 to Cleveland. And if the New York Giants are smart, and if you watched Hard Knocks last year, you probably have some questions as to whether or not they're smart or not. It will be Travis Hunter number 3 going to the New York Giants. That's what it will look like. And yeah, the Patriots really screwed George Payton and Greg Penner over, because now Courtland Sutton's going to his agent and saying, there's the market. Let's have a conversation with the Denver Broncos. Broncos country, Buffs fans, what say you? I'd love to get your feedback, your opinion on the things we're chatting about here. Make sure you're commenting on the YouTube channel while you're there. Like, subscribe, check out everything we have. Cecil and Mace crushing it with orange and blue. Mile High Hoops, Mile High Hockey. We got all kinds of stuff for you, and going to continue to grow at denversports.com. This has been Dover on Denver, and now I'm done.